Good afternoon, everyone. We have a couple more people who are still joining out of the waiting room, so we'll make sure that everybody's in before we get rolling. Let's see. I think we're good to go. So thank you, everybody, and welcome to our press conference with Sandy Barber, Scott Sidwell, Carl Heck, and Rob Christianak. Appreciate everybody taking the time today, and I will turn it over to Sandy for an opening statement.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Welcome, welcome everybody. Obviously, we've started a tradition here that we start our press conferences with our masks on, just to really be making that point about how important it is in this really challenging time. There's so much that we don't control, but this we do. As inconvenient as this is, and Lord, I know it is, but we control whether we wear a mask or not, and we can all do this. And obviously, I encourage everybody to mask up, create a new habit, keep healthy and safe, and keep all those that you love and care about healthy and safe as well. And obviously, a mask is one of those ways to do it. So I appreciate everybody's help with that, and I now will turn it into my ascot. Never really been an ascot wearer, but maybe now. So anyway, as always, it's great to see everybody, and hope you and your families are staying healthy and safe. With that, Penn State Intercollegiate Athletics has been busy in a lot of ways. We continue to work really hard and focus on the safety, health, and welfare of our student athletes. That has been our absolute #1 priority. Certainly health and safety and welfare of our coaches and staff and campus and community, but that singular focus has been on our students. And it's been about creating an environment where we control as many of the variables as we possibly can, and give them the opportunity to continue to receive an education and practice and play the sport that they love. That's that balance that we are trying to, we're consistently trying to and constantly trying to find and create, with health and safety always being at the forefront. At the same time, we recognize and honor that we have the most passionate fans in the world. A lot of times I say in America, but this one is the world. No doubt about it. And we have been working diligently to provide them opportunities to engage with our student athletes, our coaches, our programs, and to give them much needed diversion from this time, and give them connection to their Nittany Lions. So there's a lot, obviously, that we continue to do within Penn State Intercollegiate Athletics, and I want to thank our team and our staff for all of their great work during which is a really challenging time, challenging for everyone. So with that, the Big Ten football schedule was unveiled yesterday, along with the medical and testing protocols. So the football schedule is out. We expect the other fall sports to follow within a matter of days or a week. They will all be Big Ten only for all the reasons that we've talked about before, and I'm happy to expand on it in the Q&A, but around flexibility and control as it relates to our ability to provide the most healthy and the safest environment for all involved. It's important to recognize that these schedules represent our plans should we be able to play at the time, based on local public health and from a Big Ten and an NCAA standpoint. So as you know, the virus will determine what we do here. The virus will determine whether we play or not. So there's been a lot of tremendous work done. I have to take my tip of the cap to Commissioner Warren and the Big Ten Conference office staff for putting this football schedule together. As we said from the beginning, when we went all conference only, it was about flexibility. It was about control. And this schedule gives us that over and over again. I'm sure you all have listened to the Big Ten Network and others talk about how the schedule was put together, but whether it's the bye weeks or it's the number where things can be folded to, if we don't end up starting on September 5th, where all those games can be put, that kind of thing. The premium we put on flexibility and control really is exhibited in this schedule. So again, want to say thanks to the conference office and staff for that. From a student athlete health and safety standpoint, health and welfare, that's always been number one and will always be number one in everything that we do. I'll tell you this, I'm absolutely thrilled that our student athletes, both within our own conference and across the country, are engaging with this. Their voices are being heard. We're getting input from them, and I think that's terrific. They're engaging in their own health, safety, and welfare, and I think that's nothing but a positive thing. From a survey results standpoint, I think, as you all know, we've done the 3 surveys, 2 for season ticket holders and one for students. I certainly appreciate the engagement in a big way. I mean, we've gotten percentages of returns that are unheard of in survey land. So appreciate our fans and our students engaging in this way. The feedback has been very helpful. It has helped us to shape our plans, and certainly want to thank our fans for doing that. It's clear from the survey results that our fans understand that this year will be different, that our crowds, if any, will be reduced, and that they expect to be required to wear masks and social distance, as now in the borough is required. And they understand to a large degree the financial challenges that the athletic department is facing, whether we have fans in Beaver Stadium this year or we don't. We will be posting the results of those of the latest surveys later this afternoon for you. So with that, I think you're probably aware that a letter went out to our football season ticket holders, our 2020 football season ticket holders. We reached out to them to share what we knew about the governor's orders and what impact that might have on fans in the stands. And again, I think, as you all are well aware, that those orders are 250 people at outdoor events and 25 at indoor events. So given that, although we continue to have plans should those conditions improve and those orders change, we shared with our season ticket holders 3 options for their season ticket investment for 2020. And that's to convert the 2020 to a charitable donation. The second is to roll that 2020 ticket investment over to 2021, or the third is to request a refund, a full refund of their season ticket price. Obviously, our financial situation is a challenge within the department. Internally, we've done a number of things, including scaling back operations, travel. We have done salary cuts, as well as pushing off initiatives and projects to later down the road. But I also did, in that letter this morning, let our season ticket holders and our most loyal fans know that we need their help. Because the finances of this situation are going to be a challenge for us. Let me shift to the governor's orders for just a minute. As of today, as I said, the large group guidance order is 250 for outdoor events, 25 for indoor events. And therefore we would not have fans in the stands under these guidance for the fall. We continue to work and have been for months now with the governor's office for the opportunity to where we might be able to have a little bit of flexibility or a little bit of opening there under the current conditions. And obviously, if the conditions were to improve, what might that look like, and what would be the possibilities there? So let me make sure that there's no misunderstanding, that these plans would only be enacted, and I think Carl Heck is going to present these to you so that you have an idea of the work that we've been doing and what it might look like. But these plans would only be put in place should the conditions improve and the governor's orders allow what it is that we're presenting to you. So I think with that, I will send it back to Chris and let you introduce the other folks who've done just tremendous work. They always do tremendous work, but certainly over the course of the last few months with the challenges of COVID-19.
Thank you, Sandy. As we roll into the Q&A session here, Sandy will certainly address questions, as will Scott Sidwell, our Deputy Athletic Director for External, Carl Heck, our Senior Associate AD of Capital Events and Facilities, and Rob Christianak, who is our Associate AD for Ticket Sales and Services. When it falls into their categories, they'll certainly be happy to answer those questions. So we will get rolling with our first question, and that will be, Pickle, there you are. Greg Pickle, Penn Live.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, Sandy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much. Hey, on the number 3 option, obviously the refund is that one, but a lot of people are that we've spoken with are upset that that would also lead to some changes in their ticket status and seat status and things like that. How did you guys arrive on that option? And what was the push and pull between realizing your financial realities versus, the realities that a lot of people are experiencing, and maybe some of that money, that option is appealing, but also then they fall back in line? It seems like there was probably a lot of push and pull with that decision, I would think.
Yeah, Greg, I'm gonna let Scott Sidwell answer that, but before he unmutes himself here, I am gonna say this, that there are probably no good answers here. We had some difficult decisions to make, trying to make sure that in this difficult time, our fans had choices to pick from that fit their particular circumstance at this time, understanding that everyone is different. But we know that there are going to be disagreements about how we've laid this out. So, Scott, you want to take it there?
Sure. Thank you, Sandy. And Greg, as we went throughout this process, we worked with a number of different universities around the country, consulted with pro sports leagues, really tried to get a feel for what was happening in the industry as it related to the various options that could be provided to fans. Our survey results, certainly we wanted to take a look at those and try to glean some information so that we could make the best decisions. As Sandy said, that landed us on the 3 options, which were to convert to a donation, to number 2, roll 21, and then the number 3, as you pointed out, the refund. One thing for point of clarity, folks will not lose their spot in line if they choose for a refund. We just are not at this time to be able to guarantee their seat location from 2020 and their parking location from 2020. So with that being said, that's a lot of the information that made this decision, helped us make this decision, was from a lot of input from around the country as well as our fans.
Zoom fail, first one. Our next question will be Mark Brennan, Lions 247.
Thank you, Chris. Sandy, I guess the good news is we're not hassling you about parking and traffic patterns this year.
I might want you to ask me about traffic and parking patterns.
Hey, from kind of a selfish perspective, you've always talked about how important media coverage is of the team for the fans. What are your plans from a media perspective for home games? Because there are a lot of working parts in there when it comes to TV, online, newspapers, you name it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and you've hit on one of those buckets that we're still trying to work with the governor's office on how we might be able to work that. The press box is obviously its own building, if you will. So how might that play into what kind of opportunity we have from a media coverage standpoint? in Beaver Stadium. But if we can't do that, certainly we want to make sure that we accommodate our media that has always covered us in such an awesome way. And you're right. I do think it's important. It's important. And if we don't have fans in the stands, it's going to be even more important.
Now go to Thomas Frank Carr, ESPN Radio 1450.
I'm good. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Well, now you throw me for a loop. Usually have a minute. We'll go to Rich Scarcella. Hold on, Rich. Let me pull you up. Rich Scarcella with the Reading Eagle.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for the time today.
Absolutely. How you doing, Rich?
I'm well, thank you. Mark asked one of my questions, and that I'll ask it in this way. Do you happen to know if the 250 includes players, support staff, and media? And secondly, you mentioned in the letter to the season ticket holders about no spectators in the general seating areas. Does that include the suites?
Yeah, so the answer to your first question is yes, the 250 includes everyone. The suite question is one that we continue to work on, again, thinking that that might be considered a separate building, if you will. So there's still work to be done there.
We will, sorry, I'm trying to find people that may or may not be on this call. We'll go to Nubias Wilborn from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Hi, Sandy. I know
How's it going?
Going well, going well. I know this isn't necessarily the point of this presser, but since we have you here, there has been reports kind of going back and forth about Micah Parsons potentially opting out. Can you confirm it or not, those reports?
I believe it has been made public that he is opting out for the year and going to be preparing for the NFL.
And can I follow up?
Go ahead, Nubias.
Just real quick. And with that, not just him, but just in general, what type of advisement are you having with athletes who are referring to either opting out or also interacting with the new potential union that guys are trying to plan?
So in terms of advising student athletes, we just want them to have the very, very best information and most accurate information that they can. And I will tell you this, our student athletes across the board, and we've got about 300 of them back, and we've got another 500 coming in the next three weeks-ish. They've been incredible in terms of the questions that they've asked, the information that they've asked for. As I said from the top, I love that our student athletes are engaging in this and engaging in lots of things. Obviously, the social justice issues, many, if not most of them, are stepping up and letting their voices and their concerns be known there. So they've asked a lot of questions about eligibility, about testing, about the medical side of this, and so we're just making sure that we get them the very, very best available information. One of the challenges here is that this is a virus that 8 months ago we didn't even know existed scientifically. So the information is evolving and changing every day and every week. So it's a little bit of a challenge to keep up with that. But we're just trying to get them the best information that is available and for them to make the decision that's best for them individually and for their families. And I support each and every one of them who do it, make whatever decision they make in that way. They consult with experts, they get the best information that's available, and then they make a decision that's in their best interest. And that's what we're here for as educators, is to help them do that.
Go to Dave Jones, Penn Live.
Hi, Sandy.
Hey, Dave.
Hi, how are you? Did you see the New York Times story this morning on the South Korean study about all the asymptomatic patients?
I have not.
All right. Well, what it says, I'll give you the Cliff Notes, is that there's about 300 in the study, 100 of whom were asymptomatic, and found that 30% of those infected were totally asymptomatic and never developed any symptoms. And still they were just as capable of spreading the virus. So how can you possibly adequately track contacts and infections among the players and the staff? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons that testing is so important, Dave, and that that our students have brought that up. You know, they've informed themselves on that. Obviously, our sports medicine team and Penn State Health have been advising us from the beginning. That's why we have stepped up our testing. That you know what the Big Ten just came out with is what we have been doing here in the last few weeks, and so you know testing is a key there, along with obviously the masking and the social distancing. Whether someone is infected or not, if they're wearing a mask and they're staying 6 feet, they're not going to give that to somebody else. So all of those are really, really important pieces. And you know, everybody that we're talking to and our own experience is that there are absolutely some significant number of folks that test positive that are asymptomatic.
We will go to Audrey Snyder, The Athletic.
Thanks for your time, Sandy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Audrey. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Just another point of clarification here on who is not in the stadium. Will football players' parents be allowed in the stadium? And then I have a second part to that as well.
Yeah, so Audrey, that certainly is a group that is a really, really high priority for us. And as we work to try to, whether it's conditions improving and the governor's orders changing, or whether it's trying to create a little bit of flexibility with what we currently have, being able to accommodate our parents in all of our venues, the parents of the student athletes who are competing, is a top priority for us.
And different note, but you had mentioned in the note to season ticket holders the 8-figure, potentially 9-figure financial loss this year. Sandy, have you taken a pay cut, and has James Franklin, has that been part of this as well?
Yeah, so all of our coaches were given guidelines around pay cuts, and Iowa and it's a graduated scale. I'm certainly not going to speak on behalf of anybody else. But I certainly will tell you what I've done, which is a 15% reduction on my pay.
We will now go to Matt DeSanto from Onward State. Matt, you need to accept the unmute.
Sorry, I told Kristen I had nothing to add, so sorry about that.
Yeah, okay.
It's nice to hear from you, though, Matt.
We'll go to Ben Jones, statecollege.com.
How's it going, Sandy?
It's good, Ben. How about yourself?
Never a dull moment.
Well, that is true. There's no doubt about that.
The prevailing sentiment for the last several months has been if there aren't fans that these guys can't play. And obviously some of this is out of your hands, and there's obviously financial ramifications here, but at what point does that thought process change where these guys playing without fans has become more acceptable and tenable than it was maybe a month ago?
Yeah, you know, obviously there's been an evolution of everyone's thinking as we've sat at home trying to attack this for the last 5 months, almost 5 months. But I think where we have to point to, and we had our 104th Big Ten ADs call since March 12th this morning. And I can tell you this, every one of those athletic directors is staunchly focused on whether or not we can do this safely. And if the answer to that is no fans, money, no money, whatever it is, if the answer to that is no, we won't do it. And I know that I've conveyed that to you all on Penn State's behalf. And I can say with a surety that my brethren in the Big Ten feel exactly the same way.
We'll now go to Frank Bodani with the York Daily Record.
Hi, Sandy. Thanks.
Hey, Frank.
Hi. Could you just talk a little bit about maybe how optimistic are you at this point with a month to go that football will be played? And maybe just share maybe your thoughts on how you feel that way. I know there's a lot that can change, but just right now, what you're feeling.
Yeah, it's a little bit of what I just talked about. I mean, it's been an evolution. It's been a little bit of a journey. I think we've all been through it. When we first shut down, it was like, oh my goodness, what is this, and how long might this last? And then things started to get better. I think every one of us would agree that there was a time when we were pretty sure we were going to play. And then things took a turn for the worse. So again, it's a part of why I open every one of these and lots of other things with the mask wearing. I mean, there are some pretty simple things that aren't going to make COVID-19 go away, but are going to help us control this and help us be able to do in our everyday lives, whether it's go to restaurants or go to parks, or it's play sports for Penn State student athletes in the Penn State community. These are things we have to do and that we can do. And I'm not gonna let up on that. I feel like going downtown with a sign and saying, everybody put your mask on, please. But whether or not I have confidence that we're going to play, I'm certainly not sure we're going to play. No, I wouldn't say that. I do think we do still have some time for things to turn in the right direction. But again, at any point, if our experts come to us and say, look, this is, even with all your testing, even with all the mitigation, all of the things that you're doing to help mitigate the virus and protect students, we just don't think you can do this safely, then we won't do it.
Go to Mike Gross, Lancaster Newspapers.
Okay. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for doing this today.
Absolutely, Mike. Good to see you.
You too. Couple things on the sort of financial fallout of this. Your broadcast partners, guess I'm talking at the conference level now. Your broadcast partners, I would think, would have an enormous interest, business interest, in the continued financial health of the Big Ten, particularly in the case of Fox that co-owns the network and everything. So has there been any talk with them about, hey, how can we get together and kind of mitigate the financial issues? And the other piece of it, the other part of the question is, do you think that it's possible that going forward, college sports and college football will think in maybe more austere terms about spending in order to sort of protect against something like what's happening right now?
Yeah. So your first question, Kevin Warren has done a brilliant job as our new commissioner. Poor guy took over on January 2nd, and on March 12th was thrown into this, but he's been spectacular. And he's kept us apprised of conversations that he's having with all of our media partners about how this might go. So they are truly that. They are partners, and I'm sure that as this thing plays out and wherever we land, there'll be discussions about how we can help each other together in that. And then your second question, remind me, was you're muted.
Here we go. Okay. Just the idea that there might be some more austere thinking going forward about spending and in the college, particularly in football.
Yeah, well, I think it will be in college sports in general. There are a lot of programs that don't have the resources that the Power Five do, that are going to take a long time to come back from this. I think Power Five, even amongst the Power Five schools, there are schools that are positioned differently that will impact their ability to recover quickly or recover at all from this. So I absolutely think, Mike, that there will be a relook at college athletics and what we spend on and frankly what we don't spend on, and how can we maybe pull some things back to a more to the academy level as they relate to the campuses where our students or our student athletes are students in classrooms every day.
Peter Terpstra, WTAJ.
Hey, Sandy.
Hey, Peter.
So the governor today kind of had a mic drop moment in response to a question about high school sports and PIAA sports. And he stated that, in the idea of, not having large groups of people in the same area, that there should be no sports until at least January 1st. From your end, have you guys had any discussions recently about postponing the season until January 1st? Is that a possibility at this point?
Well, it's always been a possibility. I think on the last time we all gathered, we talked significantly about playing football in the spring. It's not what we're focused on right now. It's my understanding that the governor's comments today were about the PIAA. But again, everything that we will do, every decision that we will make is based on whether we can do what it is we're proposing to do in a healthy and safe way. And if we can't, then we won't.
We'll go to Jerry DePaula. Jerry, let me find you real quick with the Tribune Review.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sandy, for your time. I was wondering, as we go through the month of August, do you expect other athletes to come to you with a decision to opt out as they go through practice and everything else? And have there been any so far come to you besides Michael Parsons who are thinking about opting out?
Yeah. Again, we have lots of student athletes that are having conversations of a varying variety. That are worried about the season getting cut short and using a season of competition, are worried about their health, are worried about a variety of things. So those conversations are going on with a number of students. Most of them are happening with their coaches and with their teams, and but sometimes they need information outside of that circle, and so others get involved in that. And again, I encourage that. I want them all to be where they want to be, where they feel the safest, and where and what they be doing, what they want to be doing. I do think it's important for you all to know that in the materials that Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, put out yesterday, he did create an August 14th date. I don't know whether that's a target date or that's an absolute, but an August 14th date for each of the three divisions to come up with their plans, their policies, their approach to eligibility, scholarships, for next year, should seasons be truncated, should students not participate, redshirt in one way or another. And I do think that that's a moment in time that a lot of our students are probably going to wait for, so that they can understand the ramifications, eligibility and financial aid ramifications of any decision they might make.
Stop my video. I've got all kinds of problems going on. We'll go with Nick Fierro. I know. Nick Fierro with the Allentown Morning Call.
Hi, Sandy. Thanks for doing this. I'm sort of new here, so thanks for letting me in.
Welcome, Nick. Glad to have you.
Good. I was wondering, maybe I missed this, but what would had there been no order from the governor, what would your plan have been for attendance at football games?
Well, when do we want to, KP, when do we want to show people that?
It's almost like we set it up. I think that we can actually roll over to Carl right now, because that's our last question on the first round through. So let me get Carl unmuted, and I will share his presentation here in 1 second. Carl, if you want to start, I will get the presentation rolling here in a sec.
Awesome. Thanks, KP. First, I want to take a moment to say thank you to my colleagues within ICA and across campus and members of the State College community who came together to assist us with creating and implementing our fall 2020 readiness plan. Since March, we've been guided by our COVID-19 guiding principles. Our number one priority all along has been the health and safety of our student athletes, staff, and visitors. In addition, it's the protection of the vulnerable, our operational readiness, public confidence, and partnering with the campus community. To assist us, we had 3 surveys. The first survey yielded about 16,000 responses, and the second and third combined for about 14,000 responses. Fans ranked their likelihood of attending a Penn State football game second only to shopping at the local grocery store. Requiring our staff and fans to wear masks ranked the highest among expectations for Beaver Stadium operations. Second to masks, our fans expect hand sanitizer to be provided throughout the venue. We have sourced over 1,000 hand sanitizing stations to meet the safety needs of our guests. Approximately 74.1% of our season ticket holders are from the Commonwealth. It was important for us to understand our fans' expectations. In addition, we needed to understand capacity options to drive our strategy for suites, bowl seating, concourses, and amenities. We developed and modified ticketing and seating strategies and used the use of chairbacks and seat cushions to delineate bowl seating locations throughout the stadium was identified. In addition, we plan to go with all mobile tickets for Beaver Stadium. We've coordinated with all third-party vendors and operators in a collaborative approach. We've implemented COVID-19 initiatives for all of our operational areas for fans and staff. And we have reimagined the fan experience with an extra focus on environmental hygiene and increased communication. Regarding your question on stadium's capacity, with proper social distancing of pods, our stadium capacity would be at 23,275 individuals. This ticketing mix of season ticket holders and students is in accordance with 6-foot social distancing guidelines between each pod. In addition, we would require zoned entry throughout the stadium, which would help us assist in contact tracing. You might ask, how does a seating section look? Here you have a seating section from Beaver Stadium, as well as what the pods and distancing may look like in Beaver Stadium for pods of 4, 6, or 8. We'll provide these slides later on today. For parking, as Sandy mentioned, her favorite topic from last year, we're going to maintain the zones and parking strategy that was put in place, and we're going to utilize approximately 8,500 of our available spots, which is approximately 33% of our capacity. Parking would be restricted to ticket holders. We would open our lots 4 hours prior to the scheduled kick, and we'd have forced parking to assist with social distancing guidelines. For gate entry, you can see on the right is gate A, our student entrance. All student seats would be assigned and via the pods. Gate B as well from here, social distancing guidelines and how we use bike racks, stanchions, et cetera, to space the groups and provide adequate social distancing in the queuing of our lines. Concession stands brought unique opportunities for us to improve. We purchased new credit card machines throughout the venues. Consumption of our food and beverage would occur in the seating locations. We're going with pre-packaged food and beverage only. We've taken away the temporary seating locations around the concourse. We've reduced the number of stands, and our queuing lines would have proper social distancing identified along the concourse. For environmental hygiene, I mentioned earlier that we have purchased over 1,000 hand sanitizer stations. There's going to be a thorough pre-cleaning of high contact touch points throughout the stadium, continuous cleaning throughout the game, permanent and temporary stands have been installed, and then again, incremental cleaning. Regarding our staff protocols for folks coming to work for us and assist us with our game operations, all game day staff would complete a health questionnaire. In addition, they'd get their temperature checked. If they failed the questionnaire or their temperature was above the required temperature, they would not be able to proceed. If they did clear both sections, then they'd get a new credential, which would provide them access to the stadium. For access to the stadium, we've modified our wayfinding. It's important to think about COVID-19 signage, our food service changes, and directional and gate queuing, thinking about social distancing, our food safety, just reminding our fans to wear their masks, which are required in the stadium, and the social distancing guidelines put in place. Our three pillars have been employee and staff safety, fan safety and experiences, and focusing on our student athlete safety. So I just want to say thank you for your time today, and we're happy to answer any questions regarding capacity for our operations.
Thank you very much, Carl. What we'll do is, if you do have an interest in asking a question regarding the PowerPoint presentation, feel free to use the raise your hand button that should be in the participant section down at the bottom. You should be able to raise your hand that way. I do have a question from Mark Wogenrich, who we missed the first time around. So hold on 1 second, Wogie. Let me find you. Maybe, maybe not. There you are. Mark Wogenrich, Johnstown Morning Call. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Sandy. And this is for you and Carl. It's kind of a follow-up on the spring question. If you're playing in the spring in January, February, March, what has to be done to Beaver Stadium to get it ready to play at that time of year?
Well, I'm going to let Carl take that particular question, but you know, again, we're not focused on playing in the spring. As we talked about last time, not that it's impossible or that we wouldn't look to do it, but spring and having two football seasons in the same calendar year within 4 or 5 months of each other does present a challenge that we'd have to make sure that we're able to address from a health and safety standpoint for students. Carl?
Regarding our operational plans, thanks, Sandy, they would be the same. Obviously, the stadium provides some infrastructure challenges. We'd work with OPP to identify those and make sure that we're ready to host when the Big Ten would announce our spring schedule, if that was the case.
And now we'll go to Allie Berube from ABC 27. Allie? Allie, do you have a question?
Yes, sorry, I was muted.
Ooh, and now you have really bad feedback. Allie, can you hear us?
Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you with some feedback.
Okay, sorry about that. My question is about the capacity of 23,000. If that's the model you are going with, how will that be split up among students and season ticket holders, and who is the priority in that case?
Yeah, so again, that plan would only be enacted should the environment improve and the governor's orders change. But there are a number of possibilities with students only. Should we be able to pull it off, would probably be at the top of our list.
We will go to Ben Jones.
The state has said from the outset that, hey, if you've got a plan for more than 250 people and you bring it to us, we can talk about it and have those conversations. You clearly have a plan and have had those conversations. And to a layman, this seems to be as good of an option as you can get for that sort of setting. So what made them say no to something like that?
Yeah, I think at this point, it's their concerns about where we are as a state and a commonwealth with the virus, and they're not willing to extend it to that point at this point. Now they're open, and we continue to work with them. So we'll continue to work throughout this with them to see what flexibility might exist, either through kind of innovation or through improved conditions.
Again, if you're interested in asking a question about the facility plan, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll go to T. Frank.
Sandy, there are 11 states, I believe, in the Big Ten. And based on Governor Wolf's comments today, I think you can get a good sense of how he feels about the fall and going forward. What has it been like dealing with 11 different governors, 11 different situations, and how much has that been a part of maybe the hesitancy to say anything until this point?
Yeah, obviously that's a challenge. It's not one that we've had to face straight up yet because nobody's traveling, nobody's moving around at this point. once we get into the competitive season, I think that's where you're really going to see that challenge. But in those 104 phone calls with all of the 14 athletic directors, we certainly have discussed whether they be competitive challenges or they just be health and safety challenges around things being handled differently, whether it's different testing on campuses, whether it's different contact tracing criteria in different counties and states, et cetera. And again, that's one of the, as we started to see that a month ago, that was one of the reasons that drove us to the conference only scheduling in all of our sports, to help us draw as much control and as much flexibility as we could to be able to deal with those differences, because they're going to exist. Those aren't things that we control.
We'll go to Dave Melandra Jr.
Is like, have there been any discussions about, as you see all the other sports leagues that have been going to like bubbles, like doing like a hub city? Have the Big Ten ever considering doing like a hub city idea?
We're talking about student athletes who we dearly want to, as a first priority, keep healthy and educate. And so that's not something that I think as colleges and universities and educators that we've looked at specifically. Now, obviously, the idea of the bubble is to keep them as healthy and safe as possible. And so all of the things that we've been working on from a sports medicine and a science standpoint have been to keep them safe, whether it's been our quarantining, whether it's been masking and social distancing, that the testing protocols that we have put in place and have continued to evolve. So all those things, although not a bubble, have all been directed at trying to keep them safe and healthy, which ultimately is what the bubble is trying to do, right?
Thank you very much, Sandy. And we don't have any other questions waiting. So thank you and Carl and Scott and Rob for your time today. And thanks everybody for joining us. Appreciate it. Have a good
All right.
one.
Thanks everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you.